guys, I'm Jonas. Today we're going to be taking a look at these new 60 volt max tools from Toro. Now the guys out at Toro were nice enough to send out this whole lineup of their new 60 volt max tools for us to test out. Now for this video, we are in the middle of winter here, so we're going to just be looking at the chainsaw, the pole saw, and this hedge trimmer. Now later this spring, once it warms up, we will do a video on the string trimmer, the edger, and the blower. So if you guys want to catch that second video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Now for you guys that are considering switching to battery powered handheld equipment like this, I gotta say that over the last couple of years, this equipment has came a long ways. With the new lithium batteries, they can get a lot more power out of a lot smaller, lighter weight battery. It's going to give you more cutting power and longer runtime. And these 60 volt max tools from Toro are no exception. Now what's really nice about all these tools is that all the batteries can interchange. So as you've seen, Toro has everything from string trimmers, edgers, pole saws, chainsaws, blowers, as well as push mowers, snow blowers, and a whole other lineup of tools that can now all use interchangeable batteries. Now these batteries you can get from 2 amp hour all the way up to 7.5 amp hour with several sizes in between, depending on what your application is and how big of a battery you think you need. Now for all the tools that we tested out, we got a couple of 2 amp hour batteries. Now even with that smaller 2 amp hour battery, these tools still had a ton of runtime, and we were able to easily complete the job that we were doing without running out of battery power. Now out of all 3 of these tools, the one that I was probably the most impressed with was the chainsaw. Now I was really happy with how well balanced this saw was and how comfortable it was to hold on to, and weight wise it's very comparable to what my gas powered saw used to weigh. So really this was a great saw for somebody that's going to be just trimming up a few branches around the yard, or even if you've got to clean up after a storm and need to be able to take some larger stuff down. Now this saw does have what they call their Run Smart technology. So this saw will give you more power based on the load that it detects. So the bigger of a thing that you're trying to cut, the more power that the motor will give you. So this will give you the power that you need when you need it, but the rest of the time it'll run on a lower power level, so that way it's not using up quite so much of your battery. Now this saw does come with a 16-inch bar on it, and if you're just buying this saw by itself, you can choose from either a 2 amp hour or the 2.5 amp hour battery. Either one should give you plenty of runtime to tackle even your biggest task around the house. Now to give you guys an idea of about how much runtime you can expect to get out of a saw like this with the 2.5 amp hour battery in it, these are rated to cut a 6x6 post up to 60 times. So to make 60 cuts on a 6x6 inch post or a log, that's going to be a lot of cuts. That should be plenty of cuts to do anything that you need to do around the house. Now all these 60 volt max tools are just rated for homeowner use. This isn't something that you're going to go out and use commercially. You're not going to start a tree trimming business with a homeowner line of equipment. But when you just need to be able to maintain your property and use these a few times a year, this is going to work perfect for just the average homeowner. Now one thing that a lot of people will run into, including myself, is if you're just a homeowner and need to be able to just clean up the trees around your property, chances are you're only going to need to use a chainsaw maybe a couple of times a year. Well, with a gas-powered chainsaw, you can run into issues with the fuel going bad. The saw just sits around so much that the gas goes bad and then the saw won't run, or you run into carburetor problems. The fuel lines can crack and rot off of them. The primer bulbs crack out on them. And it can end up being a lot of issues to have a gas-powered chainsaw for no more than it ever gets used. But by going to a battery-powered chainsaw, especially with a system like this, where you can have batteries that fit other pieces of equipment, it's really easy to be able to just grab that battery off the shelf, slap it in the chainsaw, and go. Really the only other thing that you have to keep an eye on is your bar oil. Now these do have a sight glass on the side of the case to be able to easily check to see how much bar oil is in the saw. So as long as your chain is sharp and you're full of bar oil, slap a battery in it and you can go do what you need to do. Now the other really nice feature on these chainsaws is the tool storage in the handle. So it actually has a little cutout in the back of the handle that the tool slides into that you'll use to adjust the chain. So it's got the wrench on one end to loosen the nut and then the flathead on the other to tighten the screw down. So when you're out using this saw, if your chain pops off or gets loose on you, you've got the tool right there with you to be able to adjust it. Now really the only issue that we had with this chainsaw and the pole saw was the cap for the bar oil. It was a little bit tough to get that cap popped open, and I ended up just using the tool that came with the chainsaw to pop that cap open and be able to unscrew it to put in your bar oil. Now as far as the hedge trimmer goes, the one feature that really stood out to me was how easy it is to switch the handle from the vertical to the horizontal position. So it's got a button right here on top that you can just push down and twist the handle 90 degrees in either direction. So depending on if you're left-handed or right-handed, whatever position is more comfortable for you to be able to run this trimmer in, you can easily flip it. Now this trimmer does come with a safety bar up here on your front grab handle, as well as another safety here. So to run this trimmer, you do have to have both hands on the trimmer all the time. Now they do rate these hedge trimmers to be able to cut up to a 3/4 inch diameter limb. So that's a pretty good sized limb when you're just trimming hedges. So we wanted to test that out and see how well it really did. So we put it into some pretty rough stuff, and I'm very impressed with how well this thing did trimming. Just like the chainsaw, I'm really happy with how well balanced this is and easy to maneuver no matter which position you're trimming in. Now as far as the pole saw goes, I've learned over the years that a pole saw is one of those things that you may not always need it, but when you do need it, it's almost irreplaceable. Now, to be able to go out and safely reach limbs that are up high from the ground without having to stand on a ladder is just irreplaceable. You can work so much faster with a pole saw than trying to climb up and down on a ladder and swinging around a regular saw. So a pole saw is one of those things that's just great to have, but just know that it's probably not going to get used that much. Now I was really happy with how this pole saw performed. As far as being balanced, it does have some good weight on either end, but when you're holding on to it, it's not overly heavy on one end or the other. Now this is just rated as an 8-foot long pole saw. It's not an adjustable saw. It doesn't extend in or out. So it's just a fixed length saw, but it's got enough length to it that you should be able to trim anything that you would need to around the yard. If you've got trees that are overhanging a driveway or something and you need to be able to trim those off to drive a vehicle under them, this should give you plenty of length to do that. Now I have ran the telescoping pole saws, ones that extend out to 13, 14 feet long, and I can tell you from personal experience that those kind of saws will wear you out. If that's not something that you do on a regular basis, trying to control a pole saw that's that long is a real task. It's tough to do. So this saw being an 8-foot saw, it's going to be more manageable for somebody that doesn't do this as a daily job. Now this saw does also come with a limb hook. So on the bottom side of the saw, it's got a little hook, so if you cut a branch and that branch gets hung up and doesn't fall down, you can use that hook to try to grab the branch and pull it down. Now I did really like how comfortable the handle was on this saw. It feels really nice in your hand, and it's got a super easy to operate switch. It just has a safety switch on the top that you're going to pull down on, and then you can pull the trigger with your finger. The pole saw does come with a 10-inch bar on it, which gives you plenty of length to be able to cut down just about any size of limb that you would need to take down from that high overhead. Now I have learned from personal experience that it doesn't take any time at all running a pole saw to make a really big mess. You can go out and cut for 15 minutes and make 2 hours worth of cleanup work. This pole saw is rated to cut a 4x4 post up to 80 times. Now, all these tools that we're looking at here today do come with a 3-year warranty on not only the tool itself, but also the battery. So that's really nice to have a company that's willing to stand behind their product that well in case something does happen. So overall, I'm really happy with how all these tools performed. They were all very easy to operate. They were easy to unbox. There was very little assembly required to get the tool put together and actually go put it to work. As far as battery charge time, these things charge up in no time at all. And it's nice that these batteries have an indicator so you can see how much power you have left in that battery. Now, I think one of the key selling features for these battery-powered equipment is to have the interchangeable battery. That's going to be a big thing when you can buy multiple pieces of equipment that all use the same battery. So that way, if you are out doing a job with one piece of equipment and your battery goes dead, you've got a second or third battery even in the garage that you can just go grab and swap it out and put that first battery on the charger. So that way you don't get left stranded in the middle of a job not having enough battery power to get the job done. Now, one thing that I did notice when shopping around looking at these tools is that the batteries can get very expensive. It makes a lot more sense to buy a tool with a battery, and then if you want a second battery, to just purchase another tool that also comes with a battery. Instead of just buying one tool and thinking, well, if I want another battery, I'll just buy another battery. Because a lot of these, you could almost buy a whole nother tool and battery combo for what just one battery is going to cost you. So just keep that in mind when you're looking around at these. I would plan on just purchasing 2 tools at the same time, or buy one tool knowing that shortly after you'll end up buying a second tool, so you end up with 2 batteries that can run either one. Now, I will leave links for all these tools that we're looking at here today in the description down below if you guys want to check those out. I do want to give a big thanks to the Toro company for sending out this equipment for us to test out. I'd also like to send a big shout out to my friend Neil for helping us shoot this video. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. If you got some good value out of this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.